You've got a great life. You've got a beautiful family. You're so much in love. Move on. Get a life. Move on. And they just can't seem to, because their living is by telling their truth on the royal family. That's how they make their living.
I think Harry's a twat. Like, my life was so hard. Everybody's life is hard.
Yeah,
you were the prince of a goddamn country who dressed up as a Nazi, and now you're trying to come back as the Pope? Suck it.
Damn! They are under the impression they have big thoughts. Big thoughts. Like Meghan and Harry, I've listened to both of them talk. Garden variety retards. And nobody is a realer housewife than Meghan Markle, who married this ginger retard and took him out of his racist family so that they could live in Beverly Hills or wherever the fuck they live.
Harry and Meghan say they'd now like to split their time between spending your money in the UK and spending your money in Canada.
Meghan Markle was recently criticised by Sharon Osbourne for converting every private family drama into commercial entertainment. Furthermore, she criticised Meghan for her severe disdain for the late monarch.
The curtsy, the thing she said about medieval times, her lunch with the Queen was like medieval times, which, as you know, is a Disney-type entertainment place for kids. And it's just so horribly disrespectful and just a wine fest.
That's not all, though. Bill Maher was even irritated by Meghan and Harry, and his words were so heartbreaking that you had to see them to believe them. We have never witnessed a takedown like his. You have to witness how methodical Sharon's destruction was first, and then we'll come to that time. The most basic question, which no one in the mainstream media dared to pose, was the starting point of her critique.
You know, they were given far too much importance, because what do they do?
Sharon wants to know what people have been thinking. What precisely do they add? It's a straightforward inquiry that reveals the hollowness at their heart. They are merely discussing the royal family without producing anything worthwhile. At the Golden Globes, Jo Koy gave her the punchline that encapsulated their business model, confirming her feelings.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing. And that's just by Netflix.
In a room full of people who actually created material to support their deals, the remark struck a deep chord. They received $100 million from Netflix. What did they deliver, too? Silenced after a ridiculous documentary in December 2022. The Sussexes delivered the bare minimum and picked up the bill. With an even more intimate perspective on their inability to perform, Kelly Osbourne went one step further.
You've been handed the world and every major contract, you had podcasts, you have all of this, and you didn't deliver because
there's nothing to deliver.
Yeah, because you don't have it. And that's okay. And I think they do have a right to privacy, but that doesn't seem to me what they're looking for.
Kelly has seen this pattern firsthand, which makes her evaluation harsh. Spotify's 2020 contract was terminated in 2023 after hardly any content was produced. They lack the imagination and work ethic necessary to succeed as content producers. They continue to accept these huge deals, nevertheless. Sharon wasn't merely criticizing their work ethic, though. She also focused on the way people show themselves in public.
Cuddly, lovey, holding hands, going everywhere together. It's so disingenuous. It's like...
It feels performative to constantly hold hands, touch, and kiss on stage. In contrast, William and Kate seldom ever show public affection at formal gatherings. They seem to be attempting to sell us on their relationship, and there's a planned element to it. Speaking of strategic maneuvers, comedian Nikki Glaser had a hypothesis regarding Meghan's true motivations.
She wants to be famous. She found the guy to make her the most famous in the world, and now she's over there and she's like, oh, this isn't what I thought
What's the point of being famous in a castle?
Meghan's desire for stardom was fulfilled by Harry. Overnight, she rose to become the world's most famous lady. Then voiced their displeasure. When you consider her history of pursuing celebrity through acting, blogging, and social media, her claim that she had no idea what she was getting into is refuted.
If she didn't marry him, she would be on The Bachelor this season. Fighting for Prince. She would be Meghan M. from Sherman Oaks barista. She's just got lucky.
According to Nikki, Meghan would have been on reality TV vying for any Bachelor position if Harry hadn't worked out. She wasn't particularly in love with Harry, but she did adore the platform, position, and ultimate stardom he offered. Then, keeping all of this in mind, Sharon made one of her most dire prophecies.
It's going to end very, very badly, and I don't know why. It's like history repeating itself.
This prognosis has significant weight because it comes from someone who has witnessed innumerable celebrity implosions. Sharon is starting to see the trends: family estrangement, reliance on controversy, and failure to establish long-term professional relationships. She has seen this film before and is aware of its conclusion. Sharon's subsequent insight went even farther, concentrating on Harry's transformation of his life into entertainment material.
All just craziness going around and around, and he's turned his life and the royal family's life into a...
Harry used private situations and serious family matters to create merchandise. Spare, his memoir, was not about recovery. The goal was to make money off of every complaint and private discussion. That's making a soap opera for financial gain. Sharon addressed their total lack of direction in addition to the victim narrative.
They're totally lost. You know, one minute they're making a cartoon, then they're doing a documentary on them, now they're saving the world. They just haven't found their path in life.
Sharon is emphasizing how desperate they are. Archable Audio on Spotify was shut off after hardly creating any content. The initial interest in Netflix documentaries was not followed through on. Delays have plagued American Riviera Orchard. Since nothing is sticking, they are hurling everything at the wall. Their discrepancies were even noticed by British comedic shows.
In California, we're just a regular couple living close to Oprah and far from the paparazzi. Woo! But not too far.
The hypocrisy of the puppet show was spot on. Professing to desire privacy despite residing in Monaceto, close to Oprah. That's not looking for isolation. Seeking the proper type of attention is what that is.
Best thing is, no more following Granny's rules. Don't wear your pants on your head, Harry. Don't bath on the butler, Harry.
Harry's arrested development is aptly depicted in the parody. He is a 40-year-old man who celebrates his liberation from his grandmother's rules like a teenager who doesn't realize how such constraints gave his life direction.
If I want to play polo in my living room, who's gonna stop me?
Stop that!
Right away.
This scene confirms everyone's suspicions. Meghan continues to make the decisions. Harry is still doing as he is told. One authoritative figure was just exchanged for another by him. However, Sharon's most devastating insight centered on the actual victims of this tragedy.
Just think about her children. They have no family. They have their grandmother, Meghan's mum. That's it. There's no cousins, no aunts and uncles, no other grandparents. There's two little babies that have grown up that will never meet or know their cousins because they're not growing.
In their parents' conflict with the royal family, these kids are being utilized as leverage. However, Bill Mayer's comprehensive explanation of what makes them so unbearable was far superior to even Sharon's ruthless candor. Believe me, everything is wonderfully captured in what he stated. You must first observe how Sharon's critiques were even more personal when she addressed family issues, and how her viewpoint was more significant given the history of her own family.
I haven't from day one been into the fact of, talking about private things that went on in the royal family when they were a part of it. And the thing is, it's just their point of view. We haven't had the other point.
Sharon is pointing out that while the royal family remains mute, they are just providing one side of the story. Harry's memoir, the Netflix documentary, and the Oprah interview all portray their viewpoint as reality without offering a refutation. It's not telling the truth. The purpose of the storytelling is to portray them as victims.
Don't bring it to the public. Nobody wants to know about it. Every family has problems. Keep it to...
Every family has issues, but ordinary people don't make Netflix out of them. Showing family instability is not the same as using family secrets as a weapon for financial gain. After then, Sharon revealed a very intimate narrative that made it impossible to overlook the difference with Meghan.
Should she go to her father? Yes, she should. I didn't talk to my father for 18 years. He used me in his companies and all of...
In reality, Sharon suffered financial losses and suffering as a result of her father's business practices. She still returned to him and showed him concern, though. What justification does Meghan have for deleting her father's overstage pictures if Sharon is willing to overlook genuine financial exploitation?
millions and millions I had to pay because my father got me in the crap. But the situation is, when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I went to him and took care of him because he's my.
Despite paying millions for her father's conduct, Sharon continued to care for him when he developed Alzheimer's. Thomas set up some pictures in the interim that didn't cost Meghan any money. However, even after his heart attack, she has remained completely disconnected for years. Hearing from Meghan's real family exacerbated the tragic contrast that Sharon's story had already created. Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, opened up about the devastating truth of being banished by his daughter.
Axe murderers in prison, their family comes to see them, right? I mean, I'm not an axe murderer. I made one dumb mistake, and I'm never being forgiven.
In prison, convicted murderers are allowed to see their relatives. However, because Thomas staged paparazzi images, he was permanently disconnected. He was sentenced to life in exile for making a single, panic-driven blunder. That's a degree of unforgiveness that beyond rational limits. When Thomas was questioned directly about his relationship with Meghan, it was the most upsetting.
Still love your daughter?
Of course I do. I love my children. I love my other daughter. I love my son. Of course I love them.
Do you think she still loves you?
Like I said, I haven't spoken to her since I was laying in a hospital bed 2 days before they got me.
The last time they spoke was 2 days prior to the wedding, while Thomas was in the hospital bed recuperating from a heart attack. Despite being married and having 2 kids, she never once checked in to see if her father was still alive. It is quite tragic that he continues to claim to love her even when she could not reciprocate.
Worry that you might never meet these 2 grandchildren?
July 18th, I'll be 77 years old. Most of the Markle men don't make it much past the 80. So there's a good chance I might never see my grand.
At the age of 77, Thomas might pass away before ever getting to see his grandkids. As he calculates his own mortality, he discovers that Meghan's resentment might outlive him. Lyot and Archie are unaware of their grandfather's existence. In spite of everything, Thomas gave Harry some unexpectedly sensible counsel.
Stop talking about the royals. Stop giving away all the secrets about the royals. And love your children and love your wife. But also love your grandmother and love your father.
And your father-in-law.
Thomas doesn't harbor resentment towards Harry despite being interrupted. His offering sincere counsel to quit disparaging the royals and concentrate on becoming a decent father. The irony is strong. While she benefits from family conflict, the man, Meghan Exile, is promoting family reconciliation. Then Meghan's half-brother, Thomas Markle Jr., presented an even more unsettling viewpoint.
Now they're using the kids as pawns. They've been using the kids for pawns for years. My father has already given up. And it says, I'm never going to meet those kids. King Charles is never going to meet those children.
According to Thomas Jr., the grandchildren are being used as a weapon to dominate narratives and discipline family members. It is distressing to hear him say that their father has given up on meeting them. When access is limited to both grandfathers, it is difficult to argue that this is more about protection than control.
Dad specifically said one day that the way that she talked to my father, he knew it was over. He didn't know his daughter anymore because she talked down to him like he was.
Thomas Jr. saw how Meghan began to treat their father as though he were beneath her and talk down to him. That change in tone was an indication that Meghan had undergone a significant transformation. There was more to it than the paparazzi incident. Her perception of her own family had changed as a result of her newfound prominence. Bill Maher gave what may have been the most thorough takedown of their whole post-royal lives after hearing from her family and Sharon's methodical takedown.
Want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
The basic conflict was perfectly captured by Mohair. You cannot be both public content providers making money off of your narrative and private victims looking for peace. The definition of wanting it both ways is writing sparsely about personal family matters while asserting that you want privacy. Their privacy arguments are undermined by each documentary and interview.
They just strike me as creatures of that generation. You know, you're just fragile. Just take a hint from the Queen. the recently departed.
Never complain, never explain, and rarely be heard speaking in.
Maya is relating their actions to more generalized tendencies of fragility and continual demand for approval across generations. It is awful to be compared to Queen Elizabeth. Despite being scrutinized for 70 years, she doesn't publicly voice any complaints. Harry and Meghan, meanwhile, can't go 6 months without being interviewed about their difficulties.
Complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous.
They whine about how difficult their lives are despite living in mansions with millions of dollars on international forums. There is a ridiculous disconnect between their complaints and their way of living. It's absurd and totally out of touch, according to Mars.
I will not bend the knee and just go along with the nonsense. That's what's so annoying about them. The most of all, they insist that you go along with their nonsense and their insanity and their fragility.
Telling the truth is insufficient. They insist that everyone be validated. If you disagree with their story, you will be called racist or bigoted. Millions of people share Maya's readiness to say no and his refusal to compromise. We've seen more than simply criticism. It's a total takedown from all sides. Their unsuccessful business endeavors and performative relationship were revealed by Sharon Osbourne. The Markle family caused personal suffering when Thomas Jr. disclosed troubling trends of using children as weapons, and Thomas Sr. was devastated. Bill Maher explained why they have come to represent the fragility of generations. There is no denying the pattern. They distance themselves from their loved ones, destroy relationships, fall short, and then question why people are fed up with their victimization. They have depleted public goodwill, disappointed business partners, and alienated both families. The Thomas Markle scenario is the most terrible aspect. Due to Meghan's inability to forgive a mistake that cost her nothing, the 77-year-old man may pass away before ever meeting his grandkids. In contrast, Sharon was able to forgive a father who had cost her millions of dollars. Something really alarming is shown by the disparity. Perhaps the most significant point made by Bill Maher is that you should demand validation. They wish to live more than just their truth. They demand obligatory consent. If you disagree, you're written off as hateful. Even benevolent spectators are retreating because of that domineering approach. Is there a way out of this predicament, or is it inevitable when someone as knowledgeable as Sharon Osbourne foretells a very horrible outcome and your own family publicly criticizes your actions? What are your thoughts? Will Meghan and her father ever make amends before it's too late? Or have these bridges burned out forever? For more royal drama, subscribe and leave a comment below.